right in the kisser.
Hey, how the devil are you? Hope you're well, hope you're good on all that stuff. Right, so today I've got the FX Audio L06 power amplifier with VU meters. Ho ho! Love a VU meter, me. This goes with a DAC I reviewed a few weeks back, the FX Audio DA06. Decent DAC, that. So anyway, without further ado, okay, let's have a closer look. And here it is. Ta-da! Right, so starting from the left, we've got the on button. You'll hold it for a couple of seconds and it'll come on. There you go. You can also select between balanced and unbalanced RCA and XLR. Just press that once and it switches between the two here. I've got it connected via RCA at the moment. It does light up. Let me just turn down the light a second. So you can see there, it is lighting up. It's got two lights either side. I would prefer a backlit one, but it's side lit, fine. And then you've got the volume on the right, there. Now, let me put some music on to show you the VU meters in action. The only problem with the VU meters, I do like it's got VU meters. However, they don't do a lot at low volumes. So let me just put a track on for a minute now. So, not a lot happening there, is it? So you've got to really whack the volume up. Gotta say it sounds good, but yeah, at low volumes they don't really do a lot. It would have been good to have maybe a VU sensitivity button or something, or knob, which you could change the sensitivity so at lower volumes they would do something. But there we are, it is what it is. Right, let's have a little look around the back. Okay, on the back, it's a fully balanced amplifier, so great to see it balanced inputs on here. Plus you've got your RCA unbalanced in. You've got trigger in, trigger out, again, good to see. So if you have a couple of these devices with triggers in, triggers out, you can connect them up with a 3.5mm jack cable, and one will turn them all off and on. So that's good to see, especially when you've got them all stacked up. Here you can turn the VU meter. It says VU light, but actually turns off the VU meter. The VU meter gets defeated when you turn that switch off. And here you can defeat the volume control. Now just be aware of this, okay? So when you turn that on, it turns the volume of this to full whack, right? So I would always, whatever device you've got feeding this, whether it's a preamp or a DAC, you would turn the volume right down on that before you flick that up, okay? Because it will just blast full volume and may even blow your speakers up, okay? So just be aware of that. Then you've got your speaker outputs, and over here then you've got your DC in, and this one here is rated between 32 volt and 48. It comes with a 42 volt 5 amp power supply. I'll put the ratings up here and some of the specs on screen now, but you can get 100 watts into 8 ohms with the power supply that comes with it, 170 watts times 2 into 4 ohms. Then it gives some specs then into 2 ohms, which is rare, but there we are. And I think if you get the 48 volt 10 amp, you can get 150 watts into 8 ohms, 300 watts into 4 ohms. And then we come to this here. And this is the high power DC power interface. And according to the manual, it says it supports a rated current of 15 amps with a max up to 30 amps. And can be used with a high power supply to increase the maximum power output of the machine to 600 watts per channel. I'm assuming that's going to be into 4 ohms though. However, that is plenty of power. It's good to see this on here. I don't think there's going to be many speakers that this amp wouldn't power if you use this high power supply. There is a caveat though. In the manual and on the website, there's no mention of where you can buy this power supply, okay? And I'm sure there are people watching this who go, oh yeah, I know what power supply that is. I can get that, right? But for the majority of people, they're not going to have a Scooby-Doo, right? And they're going to go, what? Well, how can I get that? Where can I get it? Because there's no mention of it in the manual. There's no link to it on the website. They're not selling it on the website. So you've got to go and track it down yourself, which is confusing for a lot of people. I think there should be at least some reference to it in the manual on the website. I've contacted the manufacturer and the supplier, and so far all I've got is crickets. So just be aware of that, that it's not easy to try and track down exactly which power supply. A lot of people will be worried that they're not going to get the right one. It doesn't have any tone controls, but I can give that a pass because it's a power amp. Most power amps don't have tone controls. And the L06 that matches with it, the DAC, has all the tone controls on it and EQ and stuff like that. So I'll give that a pass. What I was disappointed with is it doesn't have a sub out. It's fine, depends on the speakers you're going to use it with, you know, but if I was using it on a desktop, my personal preference would be a 2.1 setup, and obviously I can't do it with this amp, which is a shame because I think this amp is great, really good amp. But anyway, that's by the by. How does it sound? So I've done a sound test. Oh, you know it, right? And I've compared it against the AEMA A20. AEMA A20 is a cracking amp. Really like it. It's got a high pass filter and all that good stuff. So I'll compare it against that. And I'm going to be using the Fozzy Audio ZH3 DAC headphone amp as the preamp for both of them, going through my Daddy Spectre 2 speakers. So have a listen to that. So there you go. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section. Very close, wasn't much between them at all. If I had to give judgment, I would say that the FX Audio L06 was a little bit warmer, potentially. I do think the AEMA A20 had slightly more open soundstage, and and a bit more detailed retrieval on top, but still it was extremely close. They're both great sounding amplifiers. Can't really choose between the two. If you got either one, you'd be more than happy with the sound quality. So let's go for some of the pros and the cons of this amp. Pros, it's great that it's fully balanced. I love the VU meters. I love the fact it's got a high power interface. You can increase the power. It sounds great. I do like the volume bypass. You can bypass the volume, and I like the fact it's got 12-volt trigger. The cons, no sub out. The VU meters don't do much at low volumes. And the information on the high power interface is a little vague. And there you go. I'm happy to recommend it, and it sounds great. Anyway, that's come to the end of the video. I will catch you in the next one.